welcome to today's webinar, Streamline Identity Management with Microsoft Entra ID Governance. I'm Gail Kozakowski, the Head of Marketing here at Crucial Logics, and thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that we are recording the session, so you're going to be in listen-only mode. If you need or have any questions, some comments, you can submit them both using the chat or the Q&A button in the upper corner of your screen. For now, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Amal Joshi is our CEO, and he has over 20 years of experience in leading complex IT transformations. He's joined by Emmanuel Bernal. He's a principal cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and he has over 15 years of experience in cybersecurity, data center, and cloud technology. And with that, I will hand it over to Amal to get us started.
All right, thank you so much, Gail. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, I just kind of want to pose a question. How many of you know about Entra ID Governance? And, you know, what is one thing that you would love to hear from us and understand from us from an identity perspective on this webinar? So if you want to just type that in to the chat, you know, that would be fantastic. So if you guys have you guys heard about Entra ID Governance, give me a thumbs up. If you and what would you like to learn about ID governance in general, identity governance in general? But Emmanuel, this is great. I think this is what our fourth webinar in 5 months together. It's fantastic. So I think we are completing that picture from Entra Private Access, Entra Internet Access, now Entra Governance, ID Governance. It's part of that suite, actually. It comes as a package license with Microsoft. You can buy it individually as well, but it does come as a package license. You know, I'm excited about this because I've always said that security is literally protecting identities. It's not about protecting data. It's not about, you know, protecting servers and you know, firewalls and things like that. If you protect your identity, that's 99% of the battle, right? And so this Entra ID governance feature from Microsoft will definitely help in terms of how we manage our identity from birth to tombstone, as they call it, right? So I'm excited about it, you know.
No, thank you, Mo.
Yeah.
It was great. Now you mentioned something. It's our fourth webinar. We have connected the Entra Suite perspective, right? So all the workflow that we have, and I think for the audience, thanks for joining again. And this will be the less technical webinar, right? So it's basically we want to let you know that you're maybe already doing this, right? And it's not complex. The only is we need to find which ones are the mechanisms that we need to enforce. And it's really one, if you are doing identity governance, you are working 70% with zero trust approach on the identity side, because it's not about bits and bytes. It's basically something that you will see that it's the life cycle of the identity, right?
Right.
Permissions. And when we start to see, that's the reason it was technical, because it's two specific topics: roles, right? Based on what the organization is giving you, right? What is your role? But I think we forget a lot about your current role. What do you need, right? Which level you are at the company. But that's the reason it's less technical, because I always ask to customers and partners, say, what is your role? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to access? How much time? Are only the questions that we need to know now to accomplish this type of governance. And these are great examples that you see on the screen. Hey, why, if for example, a mall is giving some approvals, they're going to be audited how many times? So maybe I'm going to be out on a business trip. I don't need approvals these 2 weeks, right? Maybe I will have like a backup on this time. So that's also important, because you cannot keep the permission forever, right? So you will see me explain a lot of permissions, temporary access, but that's basically connected to the governance strategy. It's not a big thing, but we need to understand this work, this complete life cycle of the identity now involving a lot of apps, right? And it's not only apps, it's who approves this, right? If this is a new hire, who is going to approve the access to this tool? Or maybe you need two approvals, right? And this not only involves internally. You can have like business partners that you have here, and why I like this session and identity governance helps. I will use this percentage, 90%, to prevent a lot of things.
Yep.
You mentioned something, Amol, in case you have like data exfiltration, the first thing it's compromised is the account.
Is identity. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to say, okay, Amol had access to M365 licensing, 100 VMs on Azure. I'm going to start doing some things there. So that's the most important thing. And that will help you from this perspective to understand like the user journey as well. So here we need to connect two things: organization roles, permission, access, restriction, and the user journey. You cannot provide to you say, remember the distribution list of all in the past. Hey, can you add me to these two sales distribution lists? Now we're getting rid of that, because the distribution list, we have access to emails, have access to a lot of things, but now you can automate, you can create like this certification, maybe to reduce risk. That's one of the most important things that we are seeing in the field. Hey, Amol, why you need to approve this? Maybe it's not Amol, maybe it's another role. Maybe it's finance. So I need to do like a reassessment, or remember those users that were left for 20 years there in the Active Directory, or they never know. So now we can have like this complete life cycle, as we call it, right? And that's, you will see a lot of this just-in-time access. I only need, if I need to access the server to verify something on the weekend, I will provide to you 2 hours, will be audited, will have an approval, and will be access to critical resources. So that's how we are thinking, not only on the technology, but we are thinking on the user journey. And the favorite thing about the user journey is they want to do it automatically, right? So, hey, you are the new hire in sales. I need access to this specific application. Okay, yeah, it's not critical. Give access, and I will show you in the demo. Very straightforward how the user is able to do it, how I'm able to do it, and what are the implications that you have. And you have this life cycle automation, right? So that's really cool. But maybe you can share more, Amol. But so other companies what I like is that we have integration with other services that can trigger this process. If you are hired, maybe you need like an expense approval. It's not everything about Microsoft. So that's the reason we have here on the screen different applications that you can integrate, right?
Not just application integration, but just taking even a step back. If you're talking about in the future deploying policies for purview and policies for other data loss prevention and stuff like that, they're kind of all hinged on a clean identity to begin with, right? Like it all comes back down to permissions and who has access to what at the base of it all, right? So having not only a view on how every user is onboarded and then automatically assign certain policies, but also when the user changes roles and policies are revoked, that is just as important as well, because you kind of want to keep an eye on your identity. Like you just mentioned, a user in Active Directory that's that has left the company 20 years ago, you still find some lingering items in many organizations, right? But you have no idea if that user that user name is being used somewhere else, or if someone else has a password for it. So there's no real governance around it, and I think this one will help. This automated process will help eliminate that issue.
Exactly. And one of the main things that we see when in my case, when I personally was doing some forensics, some post-breach auditing, you can take a look who approves. Hey, maybe you approve something that it was not this role. So that's also helps you to understand how you need to change, right? Because you are giving access to someone that maybe and you mentioned identity protection and other mechanisms. It's linked also to everything around Entra, because you will have like this, okay, this is a risky signing user. I might need an approval, or I need you before approving the access to disappear from the user risk page that I have on identity protection, right? So basically what you were mentioning, and this is the manual process that I was asking. And all of us, we were part of those processes, right? When we were hired, when we have in the company, it's you need to create an account, you need to send an email, then a start date, the new hire, you give the distribution list. So we are avoiding that. So we are eliminating that. And I will explain some use cases for this type of scenarios that we're doing with Entra ID governance, because it's basically, remember this, and then I only highlight fully productive. I remember 2017, I can share on Microsoft, it took me 14 days to have full onboarded on my app. Say, hey, you cannot access this? No, it's because I need to wait. This workflow thing was more manual. They need to send like HR from finance, then I have the access to the other account. Now we're removing that completely, and that's how we are helping. And not only about automating this type of workflows, it's basically until the end, right? If you left the company, if you something, so we are connecting this use case, but how you can do like join, move, leave, and I was mentioning the life cycle here, right? Updating the user, and I personally experienced it here live in Microsoft, right? So I don't need distribution lists anymore. So if I move to another org inside Microsoft, I have automatically my packages that we will discuss that later on. And then I have some of them that I can request, or they are automatically populated to my role. So I will have access to the SharePoint. For example, if I get an accreditation as a CSA, I have automatically the access to the SharePoint side, to these teams. If not, I'm going to be blocked. So that's really important also from the data protection perspective, because it's not about barriers of different orgs, it's about the data that you need to take care, right? So this is only here mentioning an example when we were having like different systems, and now how you can leverage this type of applications. This is the one that I was mentioning, and I will show you later on, but it's basically everything that you can start onboarding and enhancing on this process, right? Doesn't matter if it's on-prem, the user doesn't know, right? It's for us in the backend how we see this type of use cases, and we are onboarding the user immediately. And now you saw this on the pandemic times. You were out of the office, you don't need to connect to the domain, you don't need IT, so you don't need this type of, and you have everything ready to start working, right? And the most important thing about governance is that we have an ongoing auditing and reporting here, right? If there are guests, if there are third parties, workflows, so right now we're increasing in this type, and you will see that a lot in Teams, as I was mentioning in a specific example, approval. So it's very custom, so you can do that from that perspective. And also, we have all the mechanisms that Entra ID has, conditional access. So we are connecting everything to reduce manual validation. Also, we need to verify your identity, right? So we are putting this type of entitled management to verify credentials, for example. And I will show you later on the demo about this type of process that we need to follow, right? Contoso is our famous name of our demo, but it's very important to see how I need to recertify these users, right? To avoid risk, ensure you're having the correct access, and that's something natively done by Entra ID. And here's something that I want to share before moving, is that we need to make sure that we still having access to the correct information, right?
Correct.
That's part of governance as well. But now this module will help us to see, hey, this user has 100 days without not logging into this site. I would recommend. So now we have machine learning. Remember, we're talking about Copilot and all things. Also, Entra ID Governance has this flavor of a machine learning that will help us to understand much better, right? And we call it technically to this recertification access reviews. So that's what you will see on the tenant. So this will help you to manage the applications, the groups, and to maintain the security standard, right? Because it's a regular oversight by the user themselves, resource owners, reviewers. So you have like a whole work here. And this is what I was, and I will show you this on the demo, so you will see it on live. This machine learning. So it's not, remember MIM from on-prem. So now we have this bot in the cloud, and that will help you to say this certification. I'm seeing that it has this, what I was telling you, hey, 125 days without logging in, maybe it's out, I need to check. Or my recommendation that machine learning of entry is giving you is that you need to deny, right? Because they don't need, they are connecting different mechanisms. So that's something that you can leverage a lot. It's not a manual process, but it's something that you can do a lot from this type of process. For me, it's the most important thing. When I start looking for this improvement, it's really good from that area.
I think some Emmanuel, you just mentioned, and for a lot of people that have worked with MIM, it probably brought back some memories. MIM and FIM were the original products that Microsoft had, and they've been around for ages, right? And they used to work for on-prem Active Directory. With now the Entra ID governance, that whole concept has now shifted to the cloud, but not just to the cloud as it relates to Microsoft, but also now you can take that and apply it to other SaaS applications as well, right? So, you could actually audit logins in third-party applications versus just looking at Microsoft applications. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And I will
Okay.
show you here how you see as a user how different applications you have access on this one, right?
Right.
So it's basically the entitlement, the access review, and how you start seeing, and you will see this word protect against breaches, right?
Right.
Remember, most of the attackers, they use some accounts that are inactive, okay?
Right.
Say they take a look at this pattern and say, okay, let me grab this account that in the past, they never removed the Azure resources access, for example, and they will get into that, right? So we have seen a lot of in our telemetry, this type of behaviors that will help you a lot. Okay, so that's basically the whole process that we want to cover today. It's the new things, right? MIM doesn't have like this machine learning, right? It
Right.
was basically on your own. Now you mentioned that important. Well, now we have this type of recertification process in this complete journey. And in specific things, you need things faster nowadays.
Right.
The society needs everything. So that's something that we connect with just in time. I need this access because I need to approve, or I need to see my forecast number. So that's something that we also manage. We accomplish to the user, but it's important to define which resource, as you mentioned, which apps. And then we provide this type of privilege. Remember, zero trust, this privilege is the most important thing. You need maybe access to M365, but maybe you don't need that time. And how much permission? I like this table because it's the risk of the privileged access. How number of permissions, how levels do you have over time? And this is real. If you go to an admin 1 year, hey, everything to the admin. But what happens if you start switching roles, right?
Mhm.
And you start saying, hey, you have your security admin, you're a password specific. You start drill down a little bit the roles, not everything to one single person.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not, because Microsoft is telling that it's basically the technology is demanding that. So attackers would say, okay, global admin, remember, it has everything. No, but maybe he's not the password admin, and I only needed to give it for 1 hour. So we are connecting more this, and we are seeing these modifications nowadays more frequently in the field, right? Because it's, and I like this word, just in time and just enough access, right? What you need in a specific, for example, I can read some Active Directory users, but I cannot add or modify or change something around the Entra ID Connect, for example, right? And that will help you from that perspective, okay? And it's basically, we have the least privileged access and we have the built-in governance control, right? Everything is connected. We need to make sure, it doesn't matter the level of the user, right? You can see here, okay? We need to make sure all of our roles, all of the user have like these specific things. And now we're moving a lot into alerts, right? So what happened if I'm always an admin and I need, hey, bring me an alert that it's accessing Azure resources from another location? That's part of governance as well. It's not spying. Don't never confuse ID governance with spying. It's basically having all the details in case of prevention and in case of reaction as well, right? I can react immediately and I can remove this access. I have seen some compromised accounts that they started receiving alerts, so they immediately remove on PIM the access, and then they are not able to do nothing, and they do like a temporary block. It's like the credit card mechanism. Say, if I'm seeing some behavior online, the bank will block you or freeze your card, and then, okay, this is you or not, let me send you another card, right? So similar approach that we are seeing now on the Entra ID governance. And one of the cool things, my favorite ones, most of that we see that on the field is that we are positioned at Microsoft then going in the last step of this journey. Automatically ensure the access rights are removed when the user is offboarded. Now you can see that companies in specific scenarios when some users need to leave the company, they are automatically removed if they trigger something from an HR a tool or an HR app. They can be removed immediately. You have seen, oh, this person is not anymore. So 24 hours later, it will disappear from accessing some information. They are not able to do something. So that's also avoids you manual effort for IT department. So that's really important because it has been like the liver, and we call it the liver scenario because it has been a big challenges around that. Remember, on Entra ID, you can keep the user information, but you can remove everything visible from the global alert list, not accessing specific application. That's different. Remember, we handle both sides because it's important to keep tracking of this by compliance, or maybe after 90 days, the information is still there, but then your data needs to be removed, right? And this is one of the most best practices that I see now. Removing access. You can do it automatically, but you can do it manually as well, but keep an eye on reduce the risk by cleaning accounts, right? I always take a look at the tenant of our customers and partners, say, oh, I have like 10,000 and I only have like 8,000 licenses, because you have not doing a good cleanup on this type. And remember now, you can block only the signing, as I was mentioning. You can keep the user, but it's important that you keep like an eye on how it's evolving. And the provisioning service will be the source here. Entra, nothing complicated, as I was mentioning. It's nothing like we need to reinvent the wheel on doing this governance that will increase efficiency, right?
I think that's the conversation there about license cost has been the one that that we've been having, and when we generally go in to do a license optimization for our clients, the low hanging fruit is users that have been disabled but the licenses haven't been removed, right? So when you don't remove the licenses, unfortunately you keep paying for them. Just because the user is disabled doesn't mean that Microsoft doesn't charge you. So you have to specifically then remove it and then release the licenses as well. And that's where the cost actually starts ballooning up for majority of our clients, is in inefficient license management. So not only identity management, it gets tied into license management as well as a result, right? So
yeah, and I remember that came a lot during the COVID times.
Right.
I had some user, I'm doing Teams meeting with my license of they never removed me, right? I'm still doing Teams video calls with the family. Say, okay, that's something you can control. You can remove the license, you can remove the access, and then you can start controlling what the user will be really using. And again, I was mentioning it's not complex. It's only a way of removing the access and keeping an eye on what you are doing there. And you have the profile, right? It doesn't matter if it's on-prem or Entra join, but it will flow in everything, right? So I will show you that something really important on the ongoing and auditing reporting is not taking a look at 100 logs or 1,000 logs. Now we have this, and I will show you in the demo, this really cool report that will show you machine learning recommendations, but more than that, you can see your current state of identity governance, right? And I like this. This picture speaks more, right, on the dashboard that it's, I always go to the tenant and the customer say, your information is here. I'm not inventing you. I'm not saying you can take a look by yourself here how, like this, you have 4 guests in your directory, you have 17 users with active privileged role assignments. So you can start one. You don't need to start from scratch. Say, okay, let's take a look at my 20,000 users. No, basically you can leverage now this consolidation that now we have on the Entra Admin Center that will help you to understand much better. We have a dashboard, and then we also have the recommendation, and I will show you how this works. But everything that I'm showing today on live demos will be connected to this complete identity governance workflow.
Yep. Perfect.
So first, let me show you the user onboarding experience, right? So, and I have here my access and I can do it. So this, let's take a look later on the admin side. So I will leave it here on the parking lot. And then this is the user. We are bringing now this experience of applications, right? And take a look at the applications. Every single user can open the apps, and then we have these different type. We have Office, we have other things as Amal was mentioning, but this is what I have access to. Okay, I need. Imagine there is another one here. Okay, there is another third party. I need to create it myself. Do I need to request? Remember in the past, okay, IT, give me access, and I'm the role. You need the manager approval, but now the My Access and the access packages you will see, it's basically what you can make this available to users, right? Which depending on the role you are going to present, right? And this is nothing that you have by default, right? You have maybe some permissions, some access to default, and take a look. You will see the resources that you will have access to. Not everything is an application. It can be a role like here, right? Keep security tier, you can name it whatever it's easy for you and for your compliance story and whatever it's the role that you have. But here you can keep track of what are the resources. You can set a description, and here's the most important just-in-time piece: start date and end date. Okay, this is something that comes by default, but you can always change it. Okay,
Right.
when, for example, here when you when I need access to Copilot of M365 on this tenant, I request it and it's saying time limited. It will give me grants user access to Microsoft via group-based licensing. So what we'll do is assign me a licensing and give me 24 hours to access Copilot. And then after 24 hours, I'm removed, and that's automatically done, right? And you can see I can click continue, and you can, this business justification and request for a specific period, you can open that to the user. Everything can be customized. Okay, so I'm only showing what you have available to the user. I say I will go with the default, and then you can write whatever is the justification that you need, and then you submit the request. In this case, this is an automatic workflow, so I don't need an approval. Okay,
right.
But now it's going to be logging, it's going to be audited, right? And you mentioned something, Amal. If I do things, I will be tracked also in Purview because I have some patterns there, right? So we're talking about identity governance. This will be automatically, and then after you see now, I see active 6, and it's automatically granted. And you see, oh, I have more than 1 day. So I have it like 1 week.
This is so important because, a lot of Microsoft licenses are easy to govern because you have a centralized dashboard. When it comes to like third-party licenses, like, we get into conversations about Adobe Pro, right? They're expensive licenses, and people just keep asking for it, but no one ever releases it. So, having that start and end time on that application, allows the admins to manage those third-party licenses quite well as well, because then you actually have you don't need to buy multiple licenses for the same purpose. You can recycle the same license to different users as needed, right? So yeah, again, there's more cost savings on top of security.
Yeah, exactly. And also you can connect, you brought a great point, Amal. It's basically role with the usage of the application and the license, right? Okay, you need it maybe for a temporary project. Okay, let's do it only 1 week. And then, hey, I need an extension. Okay, so everything is here and it's more manageable from that perspective, right? And then you can remove that as well, right? So this is how, and in case this might need approval, it will go to an user, and instead of request, for example, let's put here, you will see here approval sent. You will receive a copy of an email, and in case the admin needs to approve, they will see them here, and they will receive an email, right? So they don't need to go directly to the portal. They will see what I need. I'm not an approver here, but everything will be tracked on this type of scenarios. And the other thing you will see here from the user perspective view is the access review as well. You have it here from that point of view. It's very connected to my account, to a lot of things that you can manage here, but it's basically we're centralizing what you have on the applications. And then if you request something for a specific app, then it will automatically populate here, and then you can start working on it. It's like your catalog. Don't be confused with Intune, because Intune will deploy some things automatically from the management perspective, but it's more what you start seeing from the access perspective. Okay? And then we need to go now from the admin perspective, right? So you have this, and it's very easy. Now on Entra Admin Center, you can go to entra.microsoft.com in your tenant, and then you will see this new, we used to have this on Azure. Remember, on Entra ID, we have like the identity portal, but now you can go to entra.microsoft, you have this new enhanced portal for those that you haven't seen that before, okay? And you have the ID governance block. It's, yay, I forgot whether did you have this one only for ID governance, and it's very few topics here. Entitled management that I was showing you, access reviews, basically to review what is going on about the, and I will elaborate more. And then you have the PIM that I was showing you in a specific roles for role requests. So you will see here, right, to review the type of access that you are looking for. And it's not really different. If you go to access review, you will see the access packages that we are presenting. Let me see the Copilot one that you saw, it's here. So you will see here, if you have pending requests, if it's a catalog general, so it's really manageable, as I was telling you. So you can provide this type of information about what are the active assignments, and you're not assigning this to everybody, okay?
Right.
You select from here which roles you are going, or which users, which we are going to present that, right?
Right, exactly.
And then you can leverage different type of catalogs. You know, we have organization, different users, and that's something, it's a more organized way, right? Because, for example, if we open like, let's see, Cloud PC, we have resources that they need to access, and here you add which ones, right? If it's type of group and team, intro role, license, here's the one that you were mentioning, Amol. Here you can customize inside of which resources you are going to assign inside. So everything is customized. You can customize it from that perspective, and then you can start dividing and conquer with these type of things. I know we don't have time, but it's take a look on this, and it's really straightforward, and it's not complex to do this type of configuration. And here, it's basically what I was mentioning. What are the access reviews? Here is how machine learning is helping me to provide some type of things, and how you can leverage those type of access reviews that you need to recertify based on specific roles, okay? And here you will start like a more fancy way of looking at the complete workflow, because you need to schedule something. Hey, I need to remove this user, as I was mentioning. So you can schedule this type of workflows. Remember MIM, and here, for example, I was telling you about a Copilot will be a workflow that will be removed automatically from this license, and you can schedule it here, okay? So that's how you see some users, hey, why did user disappear in 8 hours? Because I scheduled it immediately. Then I create a workflow, for example, and then you can start modifying, creating your tasks. And the cool thing, Amol and audience, is that you need to be level 500 on a specific feature. You only follow the concept, the settings you need to understand, and you can try it as well, right? Test it, and that will be really easy. And this is what I was telling you, run on demand. I need an urgent workflow that I need to run. You can do it. You can specify your users. You have like your versioning of which workflow you have. You can keep updating, but that's something that we are pushing a lot. And I have seen a lot of our customers and partners activating this more, so they have like this type of information, right? And how, if you have something to add here, I'm all based on your experience with customers and how they see you. Hey, I need help on this. So before showing the dashboard.
Oh, I mean, definitely from a privileged identity management and access review and entitled management, we see that a lot. I don't think a lot of customers have adopted the access review and entitled management yet. You know, that was the whole precipice of this webinar, is that, we need to bring this to the forefront, that these features are available from Microsoft, right? And it just enhances your security. A lot of our customers are actually using PIM and
Mhm.
privileged identity management, privileged access management with admin consent as well. So on top of that, so you can't just elevate your privileges. Someone has to approve it for you, right? So that's been in production for majority of our customers for years now. It's just the life cycle and entitlement management is very interesting, which just takes that one additional step into securing that environment and governing the
Excellent.
environment. Yeah.
Exactly. And the reason I'm asking is always you have a where I can start, right? And I think that if you go to the dashboard, it will give you like a summary. If you already have deployed identity governance, it will give you like a big picture of machine
Right.
learning of your tenant. I know you have seen Purview, a lot of technologies giving
Yeah.
this type of recommendations that I will have a configure lifecycle workflows. Here you will see a lot because we have in purpose, but I like this landscape in general. Okay.
Right.
How many guest user, for example, I always tell to my customers, open and send me a screenshot if you are allowed. How many permanent global admin do you have?
Right.
And they, oh, I am surprised, I have like 25. Okay. I
Right.
have 3 here.
Yeah.
Basically, the fewer than 5 is the recommended one. So it will give you like a key picture of what you are
Yeah.
executing here. So it's something that you can leverage, something that we're offering, right? And you will see also the improvement. But leverage this report if you want to start with something, right? Or maybe create an access package that I need, or maybe I need like an update. So that's something that will help you to have like this journey alive, right? Not only deploy and then I will go back to later on, 1 year after. No, it's important to make sure the dashboard is helping me. Hey, maybe I have like 10 guest access governance.
Access.
Hey, I need to see if they are inactive without signing in, so I can start really going more deeply on the guest accounts, right?
Right.
Maybe you were under an audit process and you gave this access. Okay, now I need to remove them, right? So maybe the next year will be another guest access. So that's something that will help you a lot. You will have the details. For example, we do it here. So on never sign in, I provided something to someone that never signed in. It's only, oh, give access just in case.
Right. Yeah.
We always open the door to everybody. Say no, let's be restrictive. So I highly recommend this dashboard because it helps you to take like
Yeah.
different actions and in different silos. More here for the apps, from more perspective. So here you will start. But as you can see, the dashboard follows your entitlements, your access review, your packages, your payment process, and then you can start uh, doing a fine tuning on that scenario. For example, can share like a quick story here. So we had like I had one case when a customer was like having XDR,
Mhm.
Defender, and Sentinel.
Okay.
So they were combining permissions. Say, I need to go. Now we are moving into the unified platform. For what they were used to this, I need to do hunting on Sentinel. Now
Right.
we are unifying like this type of permissions, XDR, that you are doing this type of contributor, and then you have all the rights to do it. And say, oh, okay, I only have one role. It's admin, but in case my team needs like the SOC analyst, take a look at some queries, another role.
Right.
So it's not connected. So that's something that we see. Also, you will start seeing the consolidation of everything, right?
Right.
And how we are moving to the zero trust approach. One thing that I can share here is how Microsoft changed completely 1 year ago, how they provide to us demo tenants,
Mhm.
right? So the beginning you were provision all these tenants for you and you can do whatever you want, right? But it was out of control because a lot of people were doing some things, they were doing some tests that they were affecting the environments.
Right.
So now we have everything that you can see here on my demos. It's through PIM, it's through governance. So they provide us, say, they explain us in a data sheet, okay, if you want to give this access, go ahead and post it or request, and that's all. Now everything is controlled, so they don't need
Correct.
to
Right.
create like 100 tenants, and there is only one tenant that we have access to all most of the technical resources around the
Right.
world. So that's really important because you can also consolidate things, and you can start opening, as you mentioned, I'm all with Adobe Pro, right? Say you can share some things, maybe 1 week if you're leaving, you can share it to another thing. So that's basically the story. And again, it's less technical, it's more about the process. And that's basically what we want to cover today. I'm all with this type of dashboard that will be important to leverage on these deployments as well. And maybe you can start opening, say, hey, let's take a look at the dashboard, what are the insights and reporting. You can start seeing it when you have the license and also.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah.
That's basically what I want to cover on the demo. And we're leaving more time in case you have questions, Tim.
Any questions around Entra ID governance and its use cases? Now, feel free to type it in the chat.
Yes, I'm taking
and as always, if Emmanuel and I don't have the answers, we'll go find you the answers and, book a call. Does anyone actually want to have a more deeper dive into this conversation? And if you do, we can reach out to you and set up that meeting as well. So, if you don't have a question immediately and if a question comes up, do let us know. But I do feel, Emmanuel, I think this completes the identity picture, because for a long time, identity has been, people talk about protecting the identity, multi-factor authentication, strong passwords, conditional access policies, and things like that. But the governance of identity for a long time has kind of fell behind. It was falling behind during the Active Directory on-prem times. With Entra ID, it's that much more important for it to not fall behind. The fact is that you could, the fact is that now you can automate it all the way from birth to tombstone. It makes a lot more sense. It is part and parcel of that Microsoft 365 license. It's an add-on that you just have to add. At the end of the day, it's something that people should think about in terms of furthering their tenant security and the organizational security. It seems like we don't have a lot of questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Emmanuel, thank you so much for another great session. As always, much appreciated. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send both myself or Emmanuel an email, and we'll get you the answers. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.